Hello, and welcome to another episode of Project Clean Beans, a podcast series dedicated to telling the stories of those affected by issues of environmental justice. Today we will be talking about Juan Rodriguez and his experience in Kettleman City, where he and his community were exposed to environmental hazards that put their health in question. Despite the name, Kettleman City is a small farming town in rural California. It is a humble migrant town where most people are Latino, and most of which primarily speak Spanish. Many residents work on nearby almond and blueberry farms, and the most popular places in town are the local church and a small Mexican restaurant. Juan and his wife Maria had moved from Mexico to Kettleman City in 2010 with hopes of finding a stable source of income and a good community to raise their two children. After hearing that Kettleman City had cheap rent, job opportunities, and a Latino population, Juan and Maria decided to move there. Juan was able to find a job at a nearby blueberry farm, and Maria was able to take care of the children. Juan recalls that his life was exciting yet stable. He found a steady source of income and a place for his family to live, and a church with a tightly knit community. Juan and his family had finally found a place to call home. Meanwhile, only 4 miles away, expansion efforts were being carried out within Kettleman Hills Hazardous Waste Facility. The waste facility was constructed in 1985 and has been a point of controversy for many years. In 1988, the waste facility attempted to construct a toxic waste incinerator. Fortunately, environmental activists and Kettleman City residents worked together to stop the incinerator from being constructed. This was a huge win for the community, but this was only the beginning. Maria and Juan had since noticed that their children had grown sickly. Isabella and Felipe had become constantly nauseous and lethargic. Juan says the kids used to parade around the house playing games and giggling, but then they became sick and they mainly slept. Juan and Maria didn't know what to do. Juan and his family had endured horrible coughs, days of extreme nausea, and a general lack of energy. They began to think that their water and their air was poisonous. They weren't the only ones. Many of the Kettleman City residents had become sick as well. Additionally, many of the children born within Kettleman City were born with cleft palates, birth defects, and heart murmurs. Something wasn't right. The community knew something was wrong. They knew that nearby industrial farms and the waste facility was damaging their health. Therefore, Juan Rodriguez and other members of the community founded a group called El Pueblo para el Aire y Agua Limpia de Kettleman City, meaning People for Clean Air and Clean Water of Kettleman City. The group confronted city officials claiming that their water was undrinkable and their air had been contaminated by fertilizers blown off of nearby farms. Unfortunately, Juan says city officials did not take their concerns seriously. They were dismissed and patronized. To make matters worse, the city informed the people that the waste facility proposed a new expansion. Juan remembers feeling hopeless. It was as if the government did not care about his family's health. Luckily, a group called Green Action had heard of Juan's story and wanted to help. They offered their legal and environmental support. After various studies, it was concluded that arsenic and abenosine was contaminating the water in Kettleman City. They also found the air quality in Kettleman City was dangerous due to fertilizers in the air and ground-level ozone. Armed with data and legal support, the residents of Kettleman City filed a civil complaint with the federal EPA. Green Action and Kettleman City residents had argued there was a minority population that disproportionately bared the burdens of pollution, thus being in conflict with Title IX civil rights laws. This was a matter of environmental justice. The EPA had agreed to hear their case. Juan and his community were finally heard. Following the mediation, the city agreed to prevent the waste facility from expanding their operations and place stricter regulations on the facility. Additionally, the city pledged millions of dollars to the construction of a new aqueduct tasked with bringing clean water to Kettleman City. Juan and his family had fought for their right to clean air and water, and they had won. This has been Project Clean Beans. Join us next time for stories of environmental justice.